She kissed him 3 seconds before the gun went off. That's what Amara would tell herself later, when the smoke cleared and blood pooled on marble floors that cost more than her yearly salary. That she'd chosen desire over survival. That his mouth had tasted like whiskey and consequences, and the kind of recklessness that makes you feel alive right before it kills you. That even knowing what he was, what he'd done, what he'd hidden from her, what he'd whispered in the dark about debts paid in blood, she'd still reached for him. Because some men you run from, and some men you run toward, knowing damn well you're signing your own death warrant. But let's rewind. Because every love story that ends in gunfire starts with something stupidly, beautifully ordinary. Welcome to Afro-Korean soul romance. Stick with me. This gets messy, sexy, and completely unhinged. You've been warned. 6 weeks earlier, Table 12 wants to speak to the manager. Again. Amara didn't look up from the espresso machine where she was currently engaged in a battle of wills with a temperamental steamer wand. Tell Table 12 that the manager is experiencing technical difficulties with his entire personality and won't be available until hell freezes over. Her co-worker Maya snorted into her order pad. You're going to get us both fired. Not if I'm charming about it. You're never charming. You're scary. I prefer efficiently intimidating. But when Amara turned around victory over the foam achieved, apron splattered with evidence of war, she realized Table 12 wasn't some tech bro with opinions about milk alternatives. Table 12 was trouble in a 3-piece suit. Seo Jun's sat like gravity worked differently for him. Like someone had taken all the sharp edges of masculine beauty, dipped them in expensive cologne, and arranged them into something that should probably require a warning label. Charcoal suit tailored so precisely it looked painted on. Silver watch catching the light with every small movement. Black hair styled with the kind of deliberate perfection that suggested a personal barber, and zero tolerance for chaos. And those eyes, God, those eyes, dark, patient, calculating. They tracked her movement across the restaurant floor with the focus of a predator who'd already decided you were dinner, but was enjoying making you think you still had a chance. Amara felt her spine straighten, her chin lift, some primal part of her brain going, danger, fascinating danger. I'm told you're the person who can help me, he said when she reached his table. His voice was rich, controlled, with an accent so faint it was almost insulting, like he'd mastered English just to prove he could master anything. Amara set down her tray with deliberate casualness. Depends on what you need help with. Menu recommendations? I'm excellent. Life advice? I charge by the minute. Directions to wherever you came from. That one's free. The corner of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. More like the ghost of amusement haunting his face. You're direct. You say that like you're surprised. Did you expect me to giggle and call you Oppa? I expected competence. This is more entertaining. Lucky you. I'm having a slow day. His gaze held hers for 3 seconds too long. Long enough that she felt heat crawl up her neck. Long enough that Maya would definitely have questions later. Long enough that Amara's pulse kicked into something that felt suspiciously like anticipation. The menu, he said finally. Still watching her like she was a test he was determined to ace. For now, like he was planning the sequel before she'd agreed to the first act. Amara pulled out her order pad. We have a special on delusion today. Pairs well with audacity. Interested? Do you recommend it? I'm serving it to you, aren't I? This time he did smile. Small, dangerous. The kind of smile that suggested he didn't do it often, and when he did, people paid attention. I'll have the lamb. Medium rare. And whatever you think I should drink. That's a lot of trust for someone you just met. I don't trust you at all. I'm testing your judgment. And if I poison you, then at least my last meal will have been interesting. Amara wrote down his order with unnecessary force. One death wish coming right up. Over the next 3 weeks, Seo Jun came back. Always alone. Always perfectly dressed. Always watching her with that unnerving intensity that made her feel like she was being studied, catalogued, memorized. He never ordered the same thing twice, never rushed, never used his phone. He'd sit there for hours reading papers in Korean, occasionally looking up to track her movements across the floor. And every time their eyes met, the air would shift, crackling with something Amara refused to name, but absolutely felt in the pit of her stomach. Your stalker's here, Maya would announce whenever he walked in. He's not a stalker, he's just persistently present. Girl, that's the definition of stalking. Then why does he tip 40%? Because he's rich and obsessed. Those aren't mutually exclusive. But Amara noticed other things. The way conversation died when he entered. How other customers suddenly remembered appointments elsewhere. The expensive black Mercedes that idled outside, windows tinted so dark they looked like portals to nowhere. The man in the corner built like a linebacker, tattooed like a Yakuza movie, watchful like a Secret Service agent who materialized whenever Seo Jun did. She noticed the phone call he took once, stepping onto the patio, switching to rapid-fire Korean, his voice dropping into something cold and commanding and absolutely terrifying. The way he'd returned to his table 5 minutes later, perfectly composed, but his hands had trembled slightly when he lifted his coffee cup. She should have been scared. She was mostly furious at how attractive danger looked when it dressed this well. The shift happened on a Wednesday night. Amara was wiping down tables, feet screaming, back aching, existing in that special kind of exhausted where everything pisses you off. The restaurant had emptied an hour ago. Even Maya had left, shooting Amara concerned looks before disappearing into the night. But table 12 was still occupied. "We're closed," Amara said, approaching with her last reserves of patience. "And before you ask, no, I don't know where you can get Korean barbecue at midnight. No, I can't recommend a good bar. And no, I won't give you my number. I wasn't going to ask for any of those things. Then what do you want?" Seo Jun stood, slowly. Like every movement had been choreographed by someone who understood the devastating effect of patience. He was taller than she'd realized taller than seemed fair. Close enough now that she could smell his cologne, something dark and woody with notes of bergamot and bad decisions. "I was going to ask," he said, voice low, "if you're always this difficult, or if you reserve this special hostility just for me." Amara crossed her arms. "Only for people who look at me like I'm a puzzle they're entitled to solve. Perhaps you are a puzzle, or perhaps you're bored with your probably illegal business empire, and I'm convenient entertainment while you wait for whatever shady deal you're running." His jaw tightened. That was the first real crack in his control. A muscle jumping beneath perfect skin. Eyes flashing with something that might have been anger or might have been interest. With him, the line was razor thin. "You think very highly of yourself," Seo Jun said carefully. "You say that like it's a character flaw. In my experience, men who look like you walk into places expecting women to melt. Sorry to disappoint your ego. I'm not disappointed." The air between them shifted, thickened, charged with electricity that made Amara's skin prickle. "Then what are you?" "Interested." He took a step closer. "Fascinated. Dangerously invested in understanding why you insist on being so hostile when we both know you're just as curious about me. That's presumptuous. That's observant. Another step. Close enough now that she could see gold flecks in his dark eyes, could count his heartbeats in the pulse at his throat, could feel heat radiating off his body like a furnace. "You want to know what I do? Who I am? Why I keep coming back? I want you to leave so I can go home." Liar. Mara's breath caught. Because he was right and they both knew it. Before she could respond, the tattooed man materialized from nowhere. "Boss, situation at the port. We need to move, now." "Boss, of course." Seo Jun's entire demeanor shifted in a heartbeat. The man who'd been looking at her like she was air transformed into something colder, harder, infinitely more dangerous. "Tomorrow," he said to Amara. Not a question, a certainty. Then he was gone, leaving her standing alone in the empty restaurant with her heart pounding and her hands shaking and the overwhelming certainty that she'd just stepped onto a path she couldn't walk back from. She didn't sleep that night, just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling the ghost of his presence like a brand on her skin. The next evening, Seo Jun returned with a proposition. "Work for me," he said without preamble, sliding a business card across the table. Embossed, heavy stock. No title, just a name and number. Amara didn't touch it. "What kind of work?" "Private events, high-end clientele, better pay than you're making here." Flexiblur. That sounds like the beginning of a crime documentary. "It's an opportunity. For what? To serve drinks while you do mob shit?" His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, that she'd said it out loud. "You're making assumptions. Am I wrong?" Silence. Heavy, confirming. Amara leaned back in her chair. "So you are exactly what I think you are. Does it matter?" "It should, but it doesn't." He leaned forward, elbows on the table, close enough that she could see the faint scar along his jawline. "Not to you. I can see it, Amara. The way you watch me. The way you haven't reported me, haven't run, haven't done any of the sensible things a smart woman should do. You're bored here. You want more. You want danger. You want... Don't tell me what I want. Then tell me I'm wrong." She couldn't. That was the problem. against every functioning brain cell, every instinct for self-preservation, every warning her mother had ever given her about men who looked too good and offered too much. Amara picked up the card. When do I start? His smile was lethal. Friday. We're black. The first event was in a penthouse that looked like it had been designed by someone with more money than God and less morality than the devil. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Marble everything. Art that probably cost more than her student loans. Men in expensive suits speaking in hushed tones about shipments and territory and offshore accounts. Amara served champagne and kept her mouth shut, but she listened. God, did she listen. And Seo-jun never left her side. His hand found the small of her back when guiding her through rooms, possessive, protective, burning through the thin fabric of her dress. His body blocked her from conversations that turned too dangerous, shoulders tensing, jaw clenching, ready to intercept anything that came her way. She felt claimed, guarded, like a prize he'd won but wouldn't let anyone else touch. It should have pissed her off. Instead, it made heat pool low in her belly. Later, when they were alone on the balcony, city lights sprawling below like fallen stars, Amara finally said it. You're in the Mafia. Seo-jun didn't flinch. That's a very American word for a very complicated business structure. Is that a yes? That's a you should leave and forget you ever met me, and if I don't want to? He turned to face her fully. The moonlight carved shadows across his face, making him look older, harder, haunted. Then you're more reckless than I thought, or more foolish. I haven't decided which. Amara stepped closer, closing the distance he tried to maintain. Or maybe you're more tempting than you have any right to be. His control fractured, just for a second. She saw it in the way his hands gripped the balcony railing, knuckles white. The way his breathing changed shallow, uneven, human. Amara. Her name sounded like a prayer and a curse. You don't know what you're asking for? Then show me. He moved before she could blink. One moment they were separate. The next, his hand was cupping her jaw, tilting her face up with a gentleness that contradicted everything about him. His thumb traced her bottom lip, not kissing her, not yet, just holding her in that agonizing space between wanting and having. I've done terrible things, he said quietly. Things that would make you hate me. Things I can't take back. Try me. I've killed people. The words dropped like stones. Not in self-defense, not by accident. I've looked into men's eyes and decided they didn't deserve to live, and I pulled the trigger. I've destroyed families, burned businesses, built an empire on fear and blood and broken promises. And you think that scares me? It should terrify you. Amara's heart was hammering so hard she could hear it. You want to know what terrifies me? How much I don't care. How much I want this anyway. How I've spent 3 weeks imagining what you'd feel like, taste like, what sounds you'd make if His control shattered completely. She felt it in the way his fingers tightened on her jaw, the way his eyes went dark with hunger, the way he leaned in close enough that their lips almost touched, close enough that she could feel his breath against her mouth. Don't, he whispered roughly. Don't make me want something I can't have. Who says you can't have it? I do, because touching you means ruining you. And I've ruined enough things. Then he stepped back, leaving her cold and aching and furious. Go home, Amara, before I do something we'll both regret. She went home. She didn't sleep. She burned. The pattern continued for weeks, charged moments that stopped just short of combustion, his restraint fighting her boldness, touches that lasted too long, looks that promised everything, near kisses that left her trembling. The other staff noticed. Of course they noticed. Amara practically vibrated with tension whenever Seo-jun was near. His second-in-command, Dong-hyun, all muscle and ink and perpetual disapproval cornered her once in the hallway. You should leave, he said bluntly, while you still can. That's not very welcoming. The boss has ghosts, Bethons. They don't just haunt him, they hunt. Amara crossed her arms. Everyone has ghosts. His have guns. Dong-hyun's expression was deadly serious. And they're coming. Soon. You don't want to be here when they arrive. Let me worry about that. I am worrying. Because when this goes bad, and it will, he won't survive losing you. The words hung in the air like a prophecy. The night everything changed started like all the others. Another event. Another room full of dangerous men playing dress-up as legitimate businessmen. But Amara noticed Seo-jun's tension immediately. The way he checked his phone obsessively. The muscle jumping in his jaw. The barely contained violence in every movement. What's wrong? She asked during a quiet moment. Old debts, he said tersely. Old enemies. Old sins coming home to roost. Talk to me. I can't. Why not? Because talking means explaining. Explaining means telling you about my brother. His voice cracked slightly. About what I did to keep him safe. About the gang leader I betrayed. The man I killed who was my best friend's father. The blood oath I broke. The price on my head that's been growing for 5 years. Amara grabbed his arm, forcing him to look at her. Then tell me, all of it, right now. You'll hate me. Try me. So he did. Standing in a darkened hallway, with danger closing in and time running out, Seo-jun told her everything. About his younger brother who'd gotten mixed up with the wrong people. About the impossible choice between loyalty and family. About the man he'd killed to save his brother's life, a man who trusted him, mentored him, loved him like a son. I shot him in his own home, Seo-jun said flatly, while his family slept upstairs. Then I took over his territory, built an empire on his grave, and pretended it didn't eat me alive every single day. And your brother? Safe. In America. Medical school. He doesn't know what I did to protect him. He thinks I'm a businessman. Amara processed this. So the people coming tonight, his son, finally old enough, finally strong enough, finally ready to claim the blood debt I owe. You're going to die, probably. And you didn't tell me. What was I supposed to say? Hi, I'm falling in love with you. Also, I'll probably be dead by Friday. The words hung between them. Falling in love. Amara's chest tightened. You're an idiot. I know. A reckless, self-destructive, emotionally constipated idiot. I know. And I'm furious with you. You should be, because I love you too, you absolute disaster of a human being. His eyes widened. You what? You heard me. She grabbed his face with both hands. I love you. I love how you look at me like I'm the only real thing in your fake world. I love how you pretend to be cold, but you're really just terrified. I love how you think you're protecting me by pushing me away when really you're just being a coward. Amara, shut up. I'm not done. Her voice was shaking now. Angry, terrified, certain. You don't get to make decisions for me. You don't get to choose what I can handle. If you're going down, I'm going down with you. That's not up for debate. His facade cracked completely. You're going to destroy me, aren't you? Probably. Good. And finally, he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was weeks of restraint shattering. His mouth on hers, desperate and demanding and devastating. His hands in her hair, angling her head for better access. Her back against the wall, his body pressing against hers like he was trying to imprint himself into her bones. She tasted whiskey on his tongue. Felt the tremor in his hands. Heard the small broken sound he made when she bit his bottom lip. This was madness. This was ruin. This was everything she'd ever wanted and never knew she needed. Boss, Dong Hyen's voice shattered the moment. They're here. Now. Back entrance. We need to move. Seo-jun pulled back, breathing hard, eyes wild. Take her out the front. Protect her. Whatever it costs. No. Amara grabbed his jacket. I told you. And I'm telling you to live. He kissed her again, softer this time. Heartbreaking. Please, live for me. Then he pushed her toward Dong-hyun and disappeared into the chaos. Amara lasted approximately 30 seconds before she broke free and ran back. The gunshot came 3 seconds after she kissed him one last time. She'd burst into the room where he stood facing 5 armed men, crossed the floor while Dong-hyun shouted, grabbed Seo-jun's face and kissed him like the world was ending because it was, and she'd be damned if she let it end without touching him one more time. Then the window exploded in gunfire. Amara watched Seo-jun transform into something primal and terrifying, watched him move with lethal grace, faster than thought, more violent than prayer. He took the bullet meant for her. She saw it happen in slow motion, saw his body twist, saw blood bloom across his shoulder, saw him tackle the shooter with his bare hands, heard bones break, saw violence so precise and controlled it looked like art. When the smoke cleared, 4 men were on the ground. 1 was dead. Seo-jun was covered in blood, his and theirs, and looking at her like she was the only thing keeping him human. I told you to run, he said. I don't follow directions well. He laughed. Actually laughed raw and broken and alive. You're insane. Probably. But so are you. Dong-hyun appeared, barking orders into his phone. Sirens wailed in the distance. The night air smelled like gunpowder and expensive cologne and survival. We need to move, Dong-hyun said urgently. Police, rival gangs, media, pick your nightmare. Seo-jun reached for Amara's hand. I need to tell you everything. About my brother. About what happens next. About the mess you just walked into. Later, Amara said firmly, squeezing back. First we run. Together? Obviously. You think I survived this just to let you die later? We're doing this stupid thing together. His smile was brilliant and terrifying. You're going to be the death of me. Nah. She pulled him toward the exit. I'm going to be the reason you survive. They ran, out the back, through alleys, into the waiting car. Dong-hyun drove like he was trying to break the sound barrier. Behind them, the penthouse burned, literally burned. Apparently someone had set fire to evidence and Amara watched it through the rear window like watching her old life disappear in flames. Seo-jun's hand never left hers, even when he was bleeding, even when he was barking orders in Korean, even when Dong-hyun was arguing about safe houses and exit strategies. I destroyed your normal life, he said quietly. You saved me from a boring one. The police will have questions. My enemies will come. Your family will worry. Then I'll deal with it. She turned to face him fully. You don't get it, do you? I'm not here because I'm naive. I'm here because I chose this. I chose you, bloody, broken, dangerous you. His eyes glistened. Why? Because boring men don't make you feel alive. Safe men don't make your heart race. And perfect men don't need you to save them as much as they save you. I didn't save you. You did. From a life of what-ifs, from playing it safe, from never knowing what it feels like to kiss someone 3 seconds before the gun goes off. He pulled her close, careful of his wounded shoulder, pressed his forehead to hers. I love you, stupidly, recklessly, in ways that will probably get us both killed. Good. She kissed him softly. I prefer my love stories with a body count. Dong-hyun groaned from the front seat. You two are going to give me an aneurysm. Where are we going? Amara asked. Safe house, Seo-jun said. Then, I don't know. Somewhere we can figure out how to survive this. We'll survive. She said it with certainty she didn't feel but needed to believe. Because you're not dying on me. Not after I just ruined my life for you. Technically, I ruined your life. Semantics. They drove through the night bloody scared and completely alive. And in that moment, speeding toward an uncertain future with sirens wailing behind them, Amara understood the title of her own story. How his love had destroyed the woman she'd been, the one who played it safe, who avoided risk, who never kissed dangerous men in expensive suits. And how that same love had saved the woman she was becoming, bold, reckless, alive in ways she'd never imagined possible. How sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is kiss a man 3 seconds before the gun goes off, and mean it. How sometimes destruction and salvation are the same thing wearing different faces. How sometimes love isn't about safety, it's about finding someone worth being reckless for. The sun rose over the city as they reached the safe house. Seo-jun's phone buzzed with messages from his brother, from allies, from lawyers who specialized in making evidence disappear. What now? He asked. Amara looked at him, this complicated, violent, tender man who'd turned her life into chaos. Now we figure it out. Together, one terrible decision at a time. He kissed her. Slow, deep. Certain. Together, he agreed. And somewhere in the distance, the city kept turning, oblivious to the waitress and the Mafia boss who'd just rewritten their own ending, who'd chosen each other over sense, who'd survived this, somehow. Want more dangerously addictive romance? Follow me for stories that live rent-free in your head. And if this one got you, share it with someone who needs to feel something today.